Hey everyone, I'm Manabuego. Today I'd like to give you my opinions on how Pokemon Red and Blue could have been changed prior to release to make them the games that they should have been. Now you may be wondering, who's this guy? Why should I be interested in his opinions? Well, you clicked on my video because the title caught your attention, so surely you have some interest on my opinion on how Red and Blue could have been improved upon prior to release. The Pokemon community is divided on their opinion of Generation 1. Some people, such as myself, believe it is the best generation, some believe it's lower on the list, and maybe even the worst. While I'm not here to contest anyone's opinion on the games, I would like to tell you how I would fix them to make them more comparable to the rest, without adding mechanics from newer games or changing the existing ones too much. I know there are hundreds of ways that the game could be improved upon, such as adding the physical special split, but I'm not here to suggest anything major that would change the game at its core, but rather suggest some minor improvements that, in my opinion, really shouldn't have even been missed by the developers. I'll start at the beginning and work my way through the game, highlighting the specific areas that I think should have been better from the get-go. So let's begin. Now the beginning of the game is actually quite good in my opinion. Professor Oak maybe could have spared a few Pokeballs after you bring him this parcel, but I won't hold it against him. Just need to pick up a few from the mart on your way through and you're good to go. My first gripe with the game is that the first gym leader, Rock. Rock has 2 Pokemon, and as the first gym leader, 2 is a fair amount. The issue is that they don't actually have any Rock-type attacks, leaving really any choice of the 3 starter Pokemon as a good choice for beginners. Maybe that was their plan from the get-go, but it leaves much to be desired as far as a competent gym battle goes. If Brock's TM34 was changed from Bide to Rock Throw, and that was put on Geodude and Onix, that would make it a much more satisfying battle. It would leave Charmander nearly useless against him, as a Fire-type should be against a Rock-type gym leader, while the TM could give good type coverage to Pokemon like Mankey or Machop, helping them survive against flying types. Another nice addition would be a potion for Brock to use on a low HP Pokemon, further punishing the use of the Charmander against a Rock-type gym leader. And for the record, no, I don't have a vendetta against Charmander. I think it's a great Pokemon, even if it is slightly overrated. I have recently found out that Brock actually has a handful of full heals, in case you're crazy enough to try to poison or burn his Pokemon. Next up would be Misty. I think she's a great gym leader, she just could use a couple potions to prolong the battle rather than the X defense which she may or may not even use, even though her Pokemon have decent defense as is, and should be more worried about surviving special attacks like Vine Whip or Thunder Shock. After Misty is my first issue with your rival, who I'll be calling Blue from now on. Which again is a simple fix, which is just to have an evolved starter Pokemon. There's no need for him to not evolve his starter Pokemon at level 16, especially when he has a level 18 Pidgeotto, so obviously having an evolved Pokemon isn't too difficult to deal with. He also has a nothing Pokemon in Abra, knowing only Teleport, and Rattata is a pushover at this point, so they didn't need to make it an easier fight by leaving the starter unevolved. The next rival battle on the SS Anne is another easy fix. Simply give him a super potion, and if his starter was Squirtle, then let his Wartortle have Bubble Beam in place of Bubble for a bit more power, since Water Gun is all he'll have for the next little while. After getting cut, it's time for Lieutenant Surge. 2/3 of his Pokemon are missing moves that they should absolutely have, the first being his Voltorb, lacking an electric move. He has the TM for Thunderbolt, so why doesn't he have it on his Voltorb? You know, since Voltorb doesn't actually learn any electric moves by level up, Thunderbolt would really help. His Pikachu is actually quite good as far as moveset goes, but for some odd reason his Raichu only has 3 moves, 2 of which are electric attacks, and 1 is an awful stat lowering move in Growl. His Raichu should instead have the same moveset as Pikachu, except with Thunderbolt instead of Thunder Shock, and as for items, again a couple potions would go a long way. Following that battle with Surge, we carry on to the 4th gym leader, Erica. Her team is decent enough for what it is, but the lack of grass attacks on Tangela hurts a little bit. So I think her just having her signature Mega Drain TM on it would be a good fix. As for items, she actually has a super potion, which is good for a gym leader at this stage of the game. It's all downhill from here as we head to Fuchsia City via the cycling road. Koga's team is slightly boring in my opinion, but I'm sure they didn't want to give him any grass poison Pokemon because that was Erica's entire team, and Sabrina has Venomoth, so they wouldn't want to double up there either. So I'd leave Koga's team as it is. He runs with 2 X attacks in his bag, which I think is great, however a Hyper Potion would be a great addition, especially after Muck sets up a Minimizer too. Flying back up north, we land in Saffron City for rival battle number 6. Once again, a Hyper Potion on tap goes a long way for a mid to late game rival battle. This would also be a good time to point out the issue with Charizard's learn set. Missing out on a flying type move on this flying, non-dragon type Pokemon is a travesty. They fixed it in Generation 2, but Charizard should have been able to learn Wing Attack at level 36. Blastoise should also have Bubble Beam here instead of Bubble. Sabrina is a good team here, although there are many options for Psychic Mons rather than the non-Psychic Venomoth. Jinx, Slowbro, and Exeggutor are all used in the Elite Four, so we'll let it slide here since Venomoth actually learns Psybeam naturally. The second Hyper Potion would do her well here, although it might be a waste on Kadabra or Alakazam, since they have such low defense it might only take one hit to bring them back down to red anyways. Next up is Blaine. Now Blaine definitely has room for improvement here. He could be running a Magmar or a Charizard or even a Flareon, but keeping his current team, he could at the very least be running Ember instead of Growl on both his Ponyta and Rapidash. No, I know what you're thinking. They have Fire Spin, and Fire Spin is one of the best moves in Generation 1. While I agree with that, running both Growl and Tail Whip on 2 Pokemon when you're the 7th gym leader is just bad. I know Tail Whip helps Stomp do more damage, but it's a bad move regardless, especially this late in the game. As for Arcanine, Agility should be taking the place of Roar, seeing as Roar is literally a nothing move in Generation 1 trainer battles. Blaine also runs 2 Super Potions, which is a waste of a turn, only healing a small portion of their hit points, so running 2 Hyper Potions would be infinitely more effective for him in this battle. The last gym leader. Now here is a disappointing battle. For being the 8th gym leader as well as the leader of a crime syndicate, you'd think he'd be slightly more competent in training Pokemon. First off, his item choice is just a waste. He runs a Mittful of Guard Spec, which you might not even see him use, and if he does, it won't be helping him win the battle. He should instead be running a pair of Full Restores, or maybe 1 Full Restore and 1 Hyper Potion to keep his Pokemon alive after taking a hit or 2. As far as moves go, there is much to be desired. His Rhyhorn should lose Fury Attack and Tail Whip in favor of Dig and Rock Throw. That would give Rhyhorn some stab moves as well as just good attacks in general. I know Rhyhorn doesn't learn those moves naturally, but come on, he's the last gym leader, let him put up a bit of a challenge. 2 of his Pokemon have quad weaknesses anyways, he needs all the help he can get. Rhydon also has some glaring issues. 2 of his 4 moves, Fissure and Horn Drill, are one-hit knockout attacks with very low accuracy. Horn Drill should be replaced by Earthquake, and his other move Tail Whip should be replaced by Rock Slide, making Rhydon very formidable foe, provided you don't knock him out with 1 Surf or Razor Leaf. I would also give Nidoqueen and Nidoking Earthquake here, since they deserve a good ground type attack as well. Not having access to moves like Sludge Bomb for the Nidos is disappointing, but being a Gen 2 move, we'll leave that one be for now. Right after collecting the 8th gym badge, Blue awaits you to the west. As with most of my suggestions so far, he should be running a half-decent healing item or 2, which I would suggest Hyper Potions here rather than a basic potion, which is nothing but a waste of a turn. His Pidgeot should have Sand Attack here instead of Whirlwind, which is another useless in-battle move just like Roar was for Blaine's Arcanine. He also has a Rhyhorn, which will mirror my suggestions for Giovanni's Rhyhorn, which is Dig and Rock Throw in place of Fury Attack and Tail Whip. I would also have it evolved into a Rhydon, because why wouldn't it be? He's level 45 and Rhyhorn evolves at level 42. As for his starters, Charizard should still have Wing Attack here instead of Rage, Blastoise should have Bubble Beam instead of Bite, and Venusaur should have Leech Seed instead of Vine Whip. And finally, the Elite Four. I'm going to put a blanket statement here and say that every member here should have 2 Full Restores on reserve, instead of the garbage items that they do have. Lorelei having 2 Super Potions, Bruno has X Defense, Agatha has 2 Super Potions, and Lance has a single Hyper Potion. The champion is the only one here who has 2 Full Restores in the base game. As for their Pokemon, Lorelei should have Psychic on her Psychic-type Pokemon, being Slowbro and Jinx, in place of Growl and Double Slap respectively. Second is Bruno. Bruno has maybe been my biggest issue with Generation 1 since I actually learned how to play the game. He is a fighting type trainer with only 3 of his 5 Pokemon being the fighting type. He runs 2 Onix, which just doesn't make sense. Onix isn't a very good Pokemon, and there are unused fighting types that he could have used instead. Maybe the excuse is to counter his flying type weakness, but there are better options for that. In place of his Onixes, he should have any combination of Machoke, Primeape, or Poliwrath, my vote being the latter two. Machoke only being an option because Agatha runs a Haunter and Lance runs 2 Dragonairs. To cover his flying weakness, he should have Rock Throw or Rock Slide on his Machamp and newly acquired Primeape. As for other moves on Primeape, I would have Thrash, Screech, and Submission. As for Poliwrath, I would give it Body Slam, Hypnosis, Bubble Beam, and Submission. I would have been much happier with this battle if these changes had been applied in development. For Agatha, I would give her first Gengar better type coverage with Thunderbolt instead of Confuse Ray. Golbat would have Bite instead of the redundant Supersonic, and change Haunter for a Venomoth with Psychic, Stun Spore, Supersonic, and Leech Life. Her ace Gengar could actually go a couple of ways. The problem is that it has Dream Eater, but no Hypnosis, so I would swap Dream Eater for Psychic since her other Gengar has the Hypnosis Dream Eater combo, or double down with that and give them both Hypnosis and Dream Eater. The last member of the Elite Four is Lance, the Dragon Trainer. There's lots of room for improvement here as well, and I would change things to be more like his team in Gold and Silver, trading one Dragonair for Charizard and evolving the other. As for moves, his Gyarados should have Bite instead of Leer, his Aerodactyl should have Rock Slide and Wing Attack instead of Bite and Supersonic, and his Charizard would have a setup of Fire Blast, Wing Attack, Slash, and Fire Spin. As for his Dragonites, as I said, should be more like his Gold and Silver counterpart. Since Fire Blast is covered with Charizard, then one of his Dragonites should have Blizzard, while the other has Thunder. And finally, we have the champion battle with Blue. Now I absolutely love the choice of team members here, and I believe it is one of the best teams you can assemble in Generation 1, but the moves are definitely lacking. So leading with Pidgeot, he should be running the same moveset as on Route 22, since Mirror Move depends entirely on what the opponent uses, and Whirlwind is still useless. His Rhydon should have Stomp, Earthquake, and Rock Slide instead of Leer, Tail Whip, and Fury Attack. Exeggutor should have Sleep Powder and Solar Beam instead of Hypnosis and Barrage, and should absolutely not have an empty move slot, but should have Psychic there instead. Arcanine should have Flamethrower, since he didn't evolve Growlithe in his last battle. That should obviously have been to get to Flamethrower at level 50, and Agility in place of Roar. As for his starter, Charizard should have Flamethrower, Wing Attack, Slash, and Fire Spin. Blastoise should have Hydro Pump, Blizzard, Withdraw, and Bite. And finally, Venusaur. Venusaur should have Solar Beam, Razor Leaf, Sleep Powder, and Growth to make the champion battle a real challenge. A few extra changes I would make are simple things like changing Gust to the flying type, Karate Chop to fighting type, and fix the bug where Focus Energy removes all chance of getting a critical hit where it's supposed to increase your chances. Other simple changes that I feel were way overlooked is like how Pokemon like Voltorb and Electrode don't learn any electric moves, Sandshrew and Sandslash don't learn any ground moves. I could go on for a while about those changes, but that's more of a blanket statement on how their learn sets could have been way better on most Pokemon. Another quick fix I would personally add is either improving the catch rate, encounter rate, or both of the rare Safari Zone Pokemon, Tauros, Kangaskhan, Chansey, Scyther, and Pinsir. Sometimes it can take forever just to find one, just for it to escape. Then it takes another 15-20 minutes just to find another one. The final thing I would change is just a simple tweak to the AI in a few places, such as trainers using Explosion or Self-Destruct when they're on their last Pokemon, or spamming Rest non-stop because it's a Psychic type and Psychic is strong against Poison types like Arbok or Muck. And that's how I would change Pokemon Red and Blue to make it the game it should have been upon release. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, as it would really help me get my channel going. My future plans are some Nuzlocke series, maybe a Generation 2 version of this video, and if you enjoyed my videos enough, then I've got a huge live stream project that I've been wanting to do for years. So if that interests you, come back for more Pokemon content, and let me know what you would change in the games below in the comments. See you next time.